Non, 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 tu applaudis pas. So, which language do you want us to speak? You have the choice between English and Français.
Let's go with English.
English, they say.
English. You.
But they don't like French.
So, goodbye.
I said not that they don't like. They like French, but there are more English speakers here, so if you don't mind, sorry about that.
But it will be less aesthetic. Buongiorno, Giannalberto.
Buongiorno, Michel. Dunque, noi stiamo parlando in inglese. Oh! Sorry. We speak English, yes, yes. We can be very funny, but we start seriously, then we will see what happens. My first question is this. I have seen almost all of your films, and I know that you are a great colorist.
A Greek?
A great,
yes, great.
Not big. A great colorist, and you like brilliant colors. At the same time, you like silhouettes, black and white. So could you explain this strange mixture?
Is my microphone working?
Yeah.
Good. I have no explanation. I think I like everything. I can be Baroque artist and Puritan. Not long. Puritan, not long, but I like something very pure with no little ribbon and little smiles, and I can enjoy a big firework. And probably I find it normal to like different things. But still I like simplicity, sincerity, and even when there are fireworks, I try to say only right things and nothing at random.
And you always make films with a message, with a strong meaning. At the same time, again, a contradiction, but contradiction is human, and I'm not blaming you for that. At the same time, you invented one of the best characters of the history of recent animation, Kirikou. So, who is Kirikou first? And what is your message second?
Of course, Kirikou, that's me, but better looking, a nicer skin. When I appear on the stage, most people are disappointed. My skin has no color. It is true that this Kirikou baby struck people, and a lot of people like this baby, and people from any age and people from any country. And in the beginning, when all of a sudden my film was successful, all the journalists would ask me, you must have been surprised to be successful. And I would answer, not at all. But still, I'm surprised at the depth of the success. And I don't have clear explanation. The only explanation I can give is I'm sincere. I would never try to give you junk. And I can fight, and I fought for that. Because Kirikou took me, I think, 6 years of my life. First 2 years trying to find the money with the producer, And then 4 years for the making. It was hard because we had little money. Nobody believed in a French animated feature film. So we had to find money in 3 different countries. And in these different countries, I had to give work because they gave money. And then we had to go to cheaper countries because the 3 countries were France, Belgium, Luxembourg. They are close together, but I still had to travel to explain people. And then we had the main expenses made in Hungary and Latvia because they were cheap. So that's 5 countries, and that was hell. Instead of working and thinking about my things, I had to pack suitcases, unpack, take taxis, planes, buses, have interpreters. Thank you for the interpretation, but there was always links to go through. And then I had to fight for everybody in the film. That may be a reason why the film is not bad. I fought all the time and I won all the time. I fought for Africa. They told me Africa doesn't sell. I fought for a simple title, Kirikou and the Sorceress. It was the story of Kirikou and the Sorceress, and they wanted a more exciting title. They thought the skin were too dark, so I made the skins a little darker. They told me you shouldn't have an African musician because it would be simpler and better to have a Parisian composer who knows how to do it. And you know, music has no color. So I got Youssou N'Dour from Dakar. I wanted to, in the French, the normal version, the French, I wanted to have good French with a slight accent of some of the countries in Africa which speak good French, but with the accent of the country. And they told me, no, the audience doesn't like accents, and they will not understand, and we'll have to subtitle the French into French. But I was able to record in Dakar, and all the people are from Africa. And the dialogue was not African enough, although the accent was supposed to be too African. But I kept the dialogues. Now, my storyboard was much too simple, and they were afraid of the simplicity of my storyboard. And so they called a real professional. So he made a beautiful storyboard with cast shadows, strange position of the camera. It would have been impossible to animate with our budget, and impossible to understand. And for example, would be Kirikou, but they would have a rock here, and the rock would be enormous, and you could not see Kirikou. And that was pleasing. The storyboard was good drawing and nice to be put on the partition, but to animate it was absurd. Again, it was cheating all the time, trying to look fine on a wall and not on the screen. And so I came to ask the man to come. We had a drink together, and I told him, now please go away. He said, yes, you are right. I go away. But the main fight was pants and bras. In the beginning, were not afraid. Well, maybe you know, when I was a kid, I was black, because I went to school in Guinea, Conakry, and that's my primary school. So I knew Black Africa in the 50s. And I have only good recollections. Only good people and beautiful. And the people were dressed that way. The women in the street were bare-breasted, but dressed normally. That was normal. The weather was very hot. And kids were naked until a certain age, not clear. And I remember where they were dressed, but the big rain was coming. They would undress, not to get their dresses wet. But I was white, and I could not do it. And in my next film, I'm playing that, the naked and dancing in the rain. So I had to fight for every day, for 4 years against Braz, and I never gave up. And the result was, people felt it was honest. And it was a little daring, but so just that nobody was shocked. And it worked very well everywhere, with the exception of the English-speaking countries. English-speaking people are afraid of breasts. So it was never correctly released in English-speaking countries. The BBC said, even at 11 at night, we cannot show that.
My advice is to men in the whole not to go to English-speaking countries.
There was a small distributor in the United States, but they were not Americans, and they were very small, and they did distribute the film, but they did not send the film to the rating commission. You know, you send your films to this commission, so it's written on all the information for what age, what kind of public, and whether it's pornographic or not. And so they run the risk of having no rating, so people would wonder what kind of film is, but they did not want to run the risk of having this film forbidden to children, so there was no rating. But it was seen by relatively few people. It was sold to a television which was specialized in Afro-Americans, although it's for everybody. And it's sad because it was a film made for America and for Great Britain, because there are countries where there are so many black people. And besides, it's just a good story from the heart, which works everywhere. The first country which bought it and told me next year it will be a cult film was Norway. They have no tradition of blackness in Norway. Everybody there is pink and blonde. And all those little kids believed they were black, and they loved the film. And the National Education bought the film to teach French. So now the Norwegian kids speak French from a Dakar accent.
Well, but anyway, Kirikou is courageous. Is small,
yes,
but he is assured of himself. He has
most of the time
a duty to fulfill, and he does. And eventually he discovers that the evil was not that terrible, that just a simple act could save the situation. So is this a message or not?
Yes, I think you understood all. but I can develop on the subject. But I can tell you grave things and not funny at all.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Because I think part of the interest of this film, there's a click at one point. It's Kirikou asking, why is the sorceress bad? And that's a question you never ask in ordinary, on all classical tales. You kill the sorceress, you don't ask, why is she bad? And that's the question I asked when I was small. Why the bad ones are bad? And later on I found out most of them, people had been bad to them. And I think the people in prisons had probably a worse life than me. And for me, Caraba the sorceress. Who saw Kirikou and the sorceress? Yeah, so I could explain a little more. So Caraba is a sorceress, and she accused of everything wrong in the village. And Kirikou is a little boy, just born. He's naked. So it's a nice. I like to be original. It's very hard to be original, to be the first one. But I'm the first one to make a film when the hero is stark naked from start till the end. And I thought I would talk about terrible things, what men do to women. And I imagine men did something horrible to the sorceress, and that's the reason why she turned into a sorceress. And once we asked a classroom, what could we do for a video game starting from Kirikou and the sorceress, and they said, find the men and kill them. And for me, that was the subject was she was raped by several men, and it is explained in the middle of the film by the grandfather, but in a discreet way. But those children understood, and another woman understood. Here, it's grave. A psychologist who was raped in her office, and she asked to meet me, and that was so hard to live. A woman who had been raped who wanted to meet me, and she wrote a thesis on what happened to her, and every 5 pages there was a page on my film with my drawings, and she explained me that she never completely recovered for 6 years. When there was a little problem, everything would come back to her. Although she told herself, I'm a psychologist, I'm going to recover from that. She did not. But one day she showed Kirikou and the Sorceress to her children, and she thought, that's a nice film. But afterwards she wondered what happened to the sorceress, and then she screened it for herself, and then she found out, and she cured herself with the film, and now she's curing other victims with the film. So that's what a good story can do.
Kirikou teaches how to behave between people, among people, and Azure Asmar teaches how to behave among in the society where the 3 temples coexist. So your message is general, but I'm wondering whether you think of history, for instance, of the Cold War, the separation of the world into two different parts, and what your reaction is.
I'm not sure I'm talking about this in my films, but that's something which struck me, which still strikes me, because there are still countries like North Korea. And I have a personal recollection of coming to Czechoslovakia under communism. It was my first real trip abroad. And at that time, in the West, we knew very little about communist countries. We knew about gray Soviet concrete, and from time to time we would hear about tanks and trials. So it was something I will not forget, getting through the iron curtain and under the concrete. But then I discovered Prague. I fell in love with Prague. And I thought, it's so beautiful, and I didn't know. And then I realized the history behind it, the history behind this beauty. Sometimes beautiful things, like Mozart, sometimes dreadful things, like what the counter-reform did in the Habsburg. But I decided I would make a film on this beautiful city, and maybe 30 years after that, I did one. But I showed it in Prague and not here. But that's a very grave subject, an organization which prevents you, forbids you to think and to travel around. And I feel so lucky to have been free all my life and be able to tell whatever I want. And I must tell you that I took advantage of this situation. I've been doing all my life only the films I wanted. And all the films I did, I decided to do them. But in the first part of my life, before Kirikou, like before Christ, before Kirikou, I had a hard life. I did only the films I wanted, but in between films, it was empty, jobless person. And after Kirikou, everything is fine, and I'm here and happy to be here.
Yes, you always look to me a happy person. When I first met you in 1980 in Zagreb, we had a chat, and you were already a balanced person, secure of himself. I asked you a strange question, and you answered very courageously. I asked you whether you were afraid of being I don't know the word in English. La joliesse. Comment traduire la joliesse?
Being pretty.
Too pretty, prettiness. And you answered, no, I'm not afraid of this. And you were absolutely sure of yourself. And I like that, because in fact your film was perfect. It was walking on a rope between ridiculous and sublime.
Yeah, I remember that very well. Living a dangerous life because I was not afraid of prettiness. I'm not afraid of prettiness.
Yes, and you made another film which risked to be the same, which is Azur Asmar. But my question is exactly this: you, such a secure man, such an assured man, did you happen to hate somebody, to have conflicts that you of course could overcome?
Hate is a too strong a word. Mm-hmm. Because I know it's the story of Karabakh. I know the
Michel,
bad.
Michel, it's impossible that never anybody was mean to you. Most people, many
Yes,
people have been
some people
mean
have
to
been
you.
mean. I suffered. I was humiliated. I was miserable.
But you didn't hate them.
Pardon?
You didn't hate.
They were too low to be hated by me.
If somebody wants to come over and take my place.
Yeah, there are better things to do. I just said I will never work again with that thing. And I worked again with the same person because sometimes you cannot choose, and everything had a happy ending.
So now you have to explain us something about the silhouettes.
So what people think is my style is just the lack of money. When I started, I wanted to be Michelangelo at the least, but moving. But they did not let me draw because I didn't have the money. So I did as the Czech did, little things you push on the camera. So I started with the three inventors. It was a bit of paper pushed under the camera, frame by frame, and I loved it. And after that, I still didn't have the three inventors. It was to tell the world I existed.
You should explain that it was your masterpiece.
Yeah. So we opened a parenthesis. I started these three inventors with the idea it will be my masterpiece, and it's mainly in a special meaning. In France, it started during the Middle Ages with the building of cathedral. You first had to be an apprentice and probably tour the country to go to several masters. And after a while, people would feel you are not an apprentice, but you had to do your masterpiece before becoming a master. And this masterpiece, it was something very hard to do. You would do only once in a lifetime, and after that you would put it in a glass case to be admired. And you had to do a masterpiece to become a master. And I thought about this film as my masterpiece, as a compagnon ouvrier, that's in French, compagnon ouvrier, companion and
Workman. Workman.
Workman? No.
Worker.
Yeah. Okay, it's not important, and the word will come back. Because before these three inventors, a film of mine where I decided all, I did a TV series. It's the only film I did not decide. But at that time, I had no work, and somebody proposed I do this series, and I did it. And people around me were jealous because I was totally unknown, and a producer to whom I did two short films, one on danger of drugs and the other one on cardiovascular illnesses. And he believed in me, and so he gave me this TV series. And so around me, all people were jealous, were criticizing me all the time, were trying to stop my work. they told the animators who were with me, they were exploited, which was not true at all. They even called the inspection of work. I try and translate from the French. So an inspector who goes into workshops where there are slaves in the basement, and here the man saw people who were paid more than he was. A beautiful place, trees on both sides, and doing nice things with animals in the countryside. And he asked me whether they were mad. And after that, the producer said, "I will never work again with the animators." But one of it's a pity because he did stop, and we could have gone further to higher levels. And one of the many reproaches I got was, "It's cutouts. It's not professional. You should do a conveyor belt organization like the Americans with senior animators, junior animators, in-betweeners, tracers, women, female, painters, female. The other ones were males. Then the shooting and all those different parts could be stopped very easily if one of the links of the chain could stop, the rest would stop. And I had a very different organization, and they were not able to stop me. But one of the reproaches, it was not cell animation, and so I was wrong, and I was not a professional. So after that, my masterpiece would be only paper, and only white paper to see its paper, and only paper lit from the side, so you could see its paper. And paper I would crumple, I would cut, I would burn to show its paper. And it worked well. As very famous critics and historians liked it. So that's the reason why I call it my masterpiece, chef-d'œuvre. That's the way I did it. But the world did not react much. But still, I had a BAFTA in Great Britain, to everybody's astonishment, mainly from the British animators. And what was the question?
It was the film that opened the Festival of Zagreb in 1980, which was possibly the festival with the best program in the history, because the winner was Tale of Tales. And no, the question was this: how and why you decided to devote yourself to silhouettes? This is a silhouette, a white silhouette on blue background, while later you used the usual black silhouette on different background.
The first one is not exactly, for me it was not exactly a silhouette, it was a low relief, like Donatello and other people from the Quattrocento.
Bassorilievo, bas-relief.
C'est ça, bas-relief, white on blue. Luca della Robbia et Donatello, ils ont tous les deux fait. So it was low relief, and so you could see white in white, but shapes and patterns. The black ones, that's when I had no money, and I took the idea from Lothar Heiniger. I did not invent anything. But it happened that way. I was not excited that much about Lothar Heiniger. I thought she was a good precursor, I know some of her life, and a good lady. We would have been friends, but I was not excited about screenplays or animation. But it's normal. It was the start.
And also, may I add, you didn't have the correct copy made in 1999 by the Film Archive in Frankfurt.
No.
With the colors.
Colors?
Yeah.
Prince Ahmed?
Yes. And the
color?
And the good music, the original music, which is wonderful.
But I thought at that time I had time, so I was teaching workshops for children, and I was trying to change the technique every year. And 1 year I thought I could do this time films like Lot Reiniger. It's good enough for kids. And the kids in 1 week did such extraordinary footage, and a lot of it, and brilliant, that it was a good demonstration of the power and easiness of this technique, because it was a huge workshop in Odense. That's very nice. It's the birthplace of Andersen. So it's the children of Andersen who taught me how to do it. And at the end, there were several workshops, and plasticine films would be shown. They were boring, badly done. You could not understand what they would say. They were cutouts, boring, childish. You could not understand what they say, not very beautiful. And they were animated drawing. It was the same. And all of a sudden, the black swell came, professional, strong, getting into you. You could understand what was the shape, and there was joy in the brain. So I thought I'd try to do as well as the kids of Andersen, and that's how I started doing black silhouettes. And I enjoyed it very much. And then there was a long space without working, but drawing and writing at least.
I could add that you used the color in the silhouette, so they are not black and white, but they have brilliant color solutions. For instance, the mantle. The mantle of the lady in Japan.
When I thought about doing many films in silhouette, the reason why it was very easy to do, and I wondered if it was really a backlit figures, characters, or would I cheat a little? And I cheated a little, which something I don't like. But you need the eyes. So I thought I would make a little hole in the eyes. Because for this technique to be very comfortable, you have to play the game of backlit silhouettes. And it helps a lot of shortcuts. So it had to be backlit. So I had to open the little hole for the eyes, but you would see the background through the eyes, so I had to put a little transparent things, not too transparent. And from time to time, I cheated a little more, thinking that jewels could shine in the darkness. So the eyes and the jewels would shine. And for the cloak of the old woman, I needed a fantastically beautiful coat from the Heian period in Japan. So I did a lot of holes and special effects on the lens. But it was really backlit, and most of the time little cheating. But I had this problem of the lit background, the background had to be transparent or translucid because the light should come through. And so I could have only one layer of paper, and I could use only watercolor because gouache, which is easier to use, is dark. It's not transparent, and I could not do any collage. So the background had to be simple. But the new one I did it all on computers. The characters are almost as simple as when I did them in paper. And actually, I bought my little paper silhouette and to show the computer people, this is what we are going to do, not more complicated. But the backgrounds, there was Photoshop. So here we could have an orgy every time. That's great. An orgy every time.
You're always ending this way. Now, you go very rarely to the movies. Do you have film culture?
No, it's very hard to have a conversation with me because I don't know anything. I have a
because
little...
I wanted to ask you the most stupid question that in the interviews is asked. What film would you take into the desert island?
My answer, my top 10, there are at least 50 titles. And there are a lot, I never count. But there are many short films gave me pleasure. I remember all those festivals. It was intense, and my greatest pleasure with motion pictures is shorts. I had a joy of meeting the people, of having all those shorts together. Even when they were bad, it was not boring because it came from a different country, a different brain, a different technique, and it was always entertaining and meeting the people. And I had to go to Cannes maybe twice, and I found that so heavy and boring. It's so long, those films. And I understood from the start what they wanted to say. What was the question?
The question is that when somebody asks me to go to the movies, I always say no, because after 10 minutes I want to go away.
Yeah.
I have seen everything in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I'm going to answer the question, do you go to the cinema?
Yes, exactly.
I think a long time ago I did go to the cinema, and I was lucky enough to be in Paris near the Cinémathèque Française, where going in was 1 centime. Probably the law forbade them to be free, so you just have to give 1 centime. And so I went a lot to the movies at that time. But now, most of the time I work too much. I work at least 12 hours a day, maybe on several things at a time. And at the end of the day, I feel like going to bed or meeting people. And I have another secret. Don't tell anybody. Now I dare telling it to people or even to myself. Jacques Doyon, live action director, and more of a classic. And I discovered he never goes to the movies because he suffers too much. And I suffer very easily for the people, real people, but people on the screen. And then I ask myself, but I'm so suffering, why am I here? It sounds silly, but it's real. And from time to time, when friends tell me, you must go to see this film, even if you suffer. Well, I didn't tell them, but you must go to see this film, and I do go to see films where I will suffer. But it's another aspect of my movie going. I suffer so easily. And maybe that's the reason why I can write stories where I feel everything.
But what is your reaction to the voices of the actors that you see in the movies? Because you use voices yourself. Did it ever happen to you to fall in love for a voice of an actor or an actress that you discovered on the screen?
No, this did not happen. For me, the sound is as important as the picture. So I'm very careful about the sound, all the aspects of sound, and of course, actors, first of all. No, actors, there is no first of all. Everything is needed. And most of the time, I do an audition. And now, more and more, I can keep some of them because we are at ease, we understand each other. And when I do an audition, the first choice is done by recordings, and I don't meet the people, not to be seduced or repulsed by the person, as I'm going to use the voice only. And then I meet the how do you say with the Oscars, the first stage of the Oscars. I nominate the nominees, I meet, and then I have them work, and then I choose the right ones. So that's all for the voices. And from time to time I do one or two.
I have one last question, and then I would like the people from the floor ask a question to Michel. My last question is this. If you were forbidden to make films, what would you do? Would you write? Would you paint? Would you sing? Would you dance?
This is a sickening question.
Yes. It's the end. The poison is in the cube, in
the
tail.
If I'm going to crever. How do you crever? Crever un œil. Crever. Well, if I ask, I'm going to take one of your eyes away. Which do you prefer I take away?
Oh, well, I see both more or less the same from both. So the choice is...
So it's very hard to choose, but I like writing, but I like writing and drawing. I could not stop either. But writing for me is easy. It's the holidays. The work starts when the script is written. Script writing is the holidays, and then work starts. So when some dictator will forbid me from making films, I could write and make little drawings in the margins. Dance I would enjoy, but I don't know if I would be that good. But using one's body is good, and I'm interested in dancing as well.
Because dancing is also movement.
I don't take the metro, I roller skate in Paris. It's great.
That's hard to do
for them. No, they don't pay me.
Who has questions for... Yes.
At least you cannot speak.
Hi there. What do you think about, could you tell us a little more about animation in France? Because France has a great tradition in animation. And we have feature films that have made also, apart from yours, of course, they have made a great showing such as Sylvain Chomet, The Illusionist, and other films. How do you see the animated production in France?
I think it's pretty good, and before Kirikou it almost did not exist, and after Kirikou it exists, and I think we are getting better and better, and we will get better, and we have an enormous reserve of good animators. There are many festivals and many schools, and in those schools, good schools, there are many brilliant animators. And now if we find the good writers, we will become excellent. And I'm happy, when people are good, I'm happy.
Hello, I have a little question. How do the ideas come into your head? Is there any special method, or is it something like when you go down the street, suddenly something pops in your head?
How do I find ideas? Yes, I teach a little class about it, so I can say it to you in 30 seconds. There are two ways. The easy way is to read a lot. It can be novels, and for animation, I think traditional stories, tales are very good. But you have to read a lot, because there is a lot of junk or things which do not make you react. But my little stories for Tales of the Night, for example, many come from traditional stories. I could read complete books without nothing happening in my brain, but then all of a sudden it rings. So I write down what made my brain ring, and when I have enough little notes, I can make a story. And that starts the clockwork, like in a factory. Little by little, it starts because of a few ideas. It's very hard to start from nothing, and I think nature cannot do it, and we cannot do it. The main thing, one of the main things, is I never adapt. I eat. And when I eat, I just forget what I ate, but I am strong and I do whatever I want. It's always absolute freedom. I don't adapt. I don't try to say the opposite of the classical tale I read. I don't try to do the same. I just forget about it. But I had that idea which sets my mind working. And that's a trick, and it's a very good way to find ideas, to start the clockwork. But don't respect the old tales. Now we are the authors, and we respect ourselves and our audience. And the other way is yourself, your life. And of course, when you make a film, it should be a side product, not important, side product of a great life. You have to be alive, to enjoy life, to try a lot of things, and feeling a few things so strongly, you have to make a film. But it's a secondary product. But you can look into yourself to make a new story. So sometimes I use some ideas which belong to everybody, and sometimes I create something from my life and from the things I really love or from the things I really hate. So that was the class.
I may have a question. In your films, you've been addressing very important human, universal issues, even if you do it in a very gentle and very specific, soft way. My question, I guess, is there any problem or any issue that is kind of burning in your head that you would like to address in the future?
Yes, that will be my next script. And I'm going to put together two films I had in my mind. One, first I have to tell you that I'm interested by almost all the civilizations, and many speak to me, and I have been doing films, stories happening anywhere in the world, and enjoying it very much. And every time it's a little difficult because I want to get the right information, to sing the right note, and people from this country should not hate me. And I shouldn't make them happy. So it's quite a lot of work. And then I thought, but I've been doing all those stories from foreign countries, but I live in Paris, and I like this city very much, and I should do a film on Paris. So I'm going to do an expensive, brilliant film on Paris in 1900. Why 1900? Because the women wear dresses to the floor. It's the last time they do it. And it's a pity. I think it's very beautiful. And with 1900, life was really brilliant in Paris. There were many nationalities together in Paris, and whether technique, music, architecture, painting, science, flying.
Animation.
What?
Animation.
And yes, I will have to make to put the Émile Reynaud. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I thought about another film, but it's so horrible that I'm not going to do it. It's in an island, a foreigner landing and finding what men do to women. It was concentrate all what the men have been doing to women everywhere, all countries, all times, and that's dreadful. And that I'm mad at men. Sometimes I'm ashamed of being a man, and that's the main thing as I have in me now. But what I was telling about was awful, as it is in reality. And I didn't feel like doing the film after all. And I'm going to mix those two things, which have little connection. Of course, the men have been behaving badly everywhere, even in Paris in 1900, but not as badly as what I'm going to show. And it will happen, there will be a sect in the Surios. And this time, I will ask a psychologist and specialist to come and see my film and tell me at starting what age I could show the film. Because I'll try to be soft, but it's hard to not to tell something. And so this time I ask, starting which age I should advertise. It will be a little hard at times, but still looking like a fairy tale. And it will end well.
Is the end, my friend, my only friend? So, yes.
And if the translators want to speak up, they can. Because you never speak. Well, yes, you speak a little, but...
No other questions? Okay, so I would like, from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of myself and the whole artist, I would like to thank both of you for a wonderful time we had with you, for you sharing with us. We certainly didn't suffer at all. It was our pleasure.
Merci, monsieur.
Merci, monsieur.
Thank you.